Hi, Reddit. Boy, do I have some twisted tea for you. Buckle up. It's a long one. I, 31-year-old female, began dating Frank, 30-year-old male, about 1 year ago. We texted for a few weeks after we matched, met up, and we've been inseparable since. He is sensitive, respectful, and loving to everyone in his life. And I absolutely adore him. Whenever we have disagreements, we sit down and calmly talk it out. We have great communication and work hard to meet each other's needs. Frank has beautiful, healthy relationships with a circle of friends, and it's been a pleasure to integrate into the group. Frank is also very close with his brother Daniel, 28-year-old male. They talk on Discord regularly and share a lot of very specific interests. Due to the pandemic, they both moved back in with their parents, about 2 hours away from any major city. When I invited Frank to come stay with me at my apartment in the city, Daniel expressed that he wanted to live with us. At that point, Frank and I weren't ready to sign a lease together, and I didn't know Daniel, so I said no. Daniel asked Frank again, but we stood firm in our decision. Frank, Daniel, and I would chat on Discord occasionally while we played video games online together. I sensed that Daniel was not happy that his brother moved out, so I frequently encouraged Frank to do things with Daniel, and I played games with them I wasn't super into. I started to notice some odd behavior with how Daniel treated me in the game. The game is kind of like Minecraft, where you spend hours gathering resources to make one item. We would farm all night, and then Daniel would ask me to make him an expensive item with all the resources I had just gathered. He also asked me to illustrate his character in full color with shading for no compensation. The description was intimacy and weird, but I followed the framework, save for that part. It took about 20 hours, and I did it because I wanted us to get along. It was a little frustrating, but not a big deal considering how important Daniel is to Frank. Then it got weird. We were playing the game as usual when Daniel started talking about intimacy. He started talking about his kinks, and then asked Frank and I if he could be our unicorn, as in the third intimacy partner to a threesome, with his brother, but as a /joke/. I was taken aback but just shoved the discomfort down and wrote it off as a misunderstanding on my part. Since then, he's frequently used language to insinuate us all being intimacy together. Things like OP and I are your little sluts to Frank in a group chat. I can't tell you how many times I pretended this wasn't happening. I never felt like he was interested in me, or that it was about me at all. I started to wonder if he had some sort of fixation on his brother. A couple of months ago, Frank and I started looking for a bigger place for the two of us. Daniel asked again if he could move in with us, and again, not taking no, and repeatedly asked. I thought Daniel just had poor boundaries in his attachment to Frank. Daniel doesn't seem to have a lot of friends, and my heart goes out to him. So anyway, Frank and I find a beautiful little place, and Daniel immediately asks if he can have his name on one of the utility bills so he could claim residency at our place. He said he wanted to see a doctor, and he needed to live within the doctor's zip code to be able to see him. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I've been sick all my life and just went through cancer treatment, which means lots and lots of doctors. I've never heard of anything like a specialist only seeing patients within a certain zip code, but maybe I'm wrong. Also, we don't live in a place known for great medical support. Cut to 2 weeks later, we're moved in, and Daniel, 2 hours away, asks Frank to look at an apartment for him. Frank goes to see it and remarks that it doesn't have laundry included. And Daniel responds, "Oh, that's not a problem. I'll just be doing laundry at your place." I thank whatever higher power that Frank woke up to this boundary trampling and told him no. That night we find out Daniel hadn't even prepared to apply for the apartment. But he made Frank feel bad because he was devastated. He said he'd been planning to move out there within the next week or two, and now his plans were ruined. Frank was sad because his brother was sad, and this was the first time I clocked Daniel as being emotionally manipulative. Dude hadn't even seen the apartment, prepared his finances, or talked to the landlord of the place Frank checked out. Yet he was devastated it didn't work out. Now, for some backstory. Daniel is the golden child of the family, spared from the abuse Frank endured from their father. Their dad used his emotions to control Frank. And I've started to see this control in Daniel, albeit through pity rather than anger. Their mom is genuinely kind and lovely, and I can see where Frank gets that from. However, when I went with Frank to visit their family home, his mom talked about Daniel constantly. Things like Daniel's so smart, Daniel taught himself to read through video games, etc., etc. Of course, I wanted to get to know Daniel and the family, but I'm dating Frank, and I would have loved to hear more about him. It was the same when his mom came to help us move. While totally selfless and greatly appreciated, she talked about Daniel through most of our conversations. I don't think Frank is aware of the depth of this family dynamic, but he is in therapy for how his dad treated him. Back to the present. Daniel was invited to sleep over our place after we got settled in our new home. I was already uncomfortable with him at this point, not just because of the continual intimacy comments, but also because of all the weird ways he tried to claim residency with us. But Frank loves Daniel, and I didn't want to impede their relationship. I thought about spending all of Friday night Saturday out of the house, but I decided against it in favor of trying to bond with Daniel. It wasn't going to happen if I was avoiding him. So I walk into the house after work, and two of our cats are fighting, and Daniel opens the evening with a joke. LOL, it's Israel and Palestine in here. He then segues into talking about relationships. Normal. How he's bisexual, how he wants to move to another city with a thriving kink scene. 3 weeks ago, he was devastated he didn't get that apartment. Dude has been bringing up his kinks with his brother and me since I met him, talking about how he's a twink and naming characters things after kinks, etc. Not normal. We get dinner and proceed to play tabletop games together. Then it started. Daniel's board was stacked and was doing well. I was like, Daniel, how did your board get so crazy? In a complimentary, hey, you're crushing this game kind of tone. Daniel responds, LOL, I was keeping everything in my ball sack. He then proceeds to talk about intimacy jokes for 3+ hours. Unprovoked, talking about intimacy nonstop. There was no other conversation. Talking about his weenie balls freaking kinks. Frank seemed out of it, super focused on the game, and I quickly dissociated as I was sexually abused by a family member as a child. Yes, I'm in therapy for the CPTSD. No one was responding to Daniel, so he kept asking Frank for validation, like, hey, that was a funny joke, right? And then would say something else inappropriate. Frank continued not to respond while I kept my head down. My mind was in a perpetual loop. After Daniel would make a comment, I'd convince myself that I misheard and it wasn't a big deal. Then he would say something wild again. That night, all I could think about was Daniel doing weird shit, like jacking off on the couch and rubbing semen on things, etc. I got out of the house ASAP the next morning and stayed out until he left. I was heavily dissociated for all of Saturday. I am working through this specific issue in therapy right now, and I decided I needed to talk to Frank about how Daniel acted the night before. We sat outside that evening, and I told Frank how his brother's deluge of intimacy conversation made me uncomfortable. Frank took it surprisingly well, and affirmed that some of the things his brother said made him uncomfortable too. I brought up that he asked to be in a threesome with us, under the guise of a joke, and that he frequently talked about the three of us being intimacy together in our group text. Frank said he had no idea how to handle it and that he needed time to think. He also said he didn't notice Daniel being over-sexual when it was just the two of them, which I thought might be an implication, that he thought the issue was that Daniel was interested in me. I don't agree, but I didn't say anything at the time. A few days later, Frank told me he'd made plans with his brother later this week to talk about how that night made him feel. I wanted to address that I thought he was sexually fixated on Frank, that he brought up being bisexual and went over all his kinks at the start of our first sleepover together, that he literally asked to be in a threesome with us, that he frequently referred to himself and me as Frank's little sluts. Here's the kicker. Frank agreed, a bunch of memories came back to him, and he started to remember how inappropriate Daniel would be around him. He shared some of the memories with me. The first time he met Daniel's ex, Amanda, they wanted to talk spoilers about a show Daniel wasn't caught up on. So they asked Daniel to leave the room for 5 minutes, and when Daniel came back in, He made a joke about them making out. From how Frank framed the situation, it sounded like Amanda had received the same weird threesome shoot I've been dealing with. It's clear to me now that Daniel has an intimacy fixation on his brother, and I'm absolutely disgusted. I can't find any resources for an adult wanting to frick their sibling. I told Frank that I won't be around Daniel if he continues talking like this, but honestly, I want to go no contact now. He said a lot of other inappropriate things I did not include. I don't know what to do, Reddit. I know Frank will be understanding yet devastated if I go no contact with Daniel. His extended family, who are normal and wonderful, are frequently having events, and mine is thousands of miles away. So going no contact with Daniel will be very difficult. How do I navigate this relationship going forward? Thank you for reading if you got this far. Cheers, OP Now. For a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You have tolerated entirely too much of this already. You need to have boundaries made of steel. Be firm in telling Frank that you absolutely will not tolerate any behavior of this kind. And if he doesn't shut it down immediately in real time, you will. Make a plan to move out of your current situation. Next comment, if Frank doesn't step in, I'm done with this shoot. You are perverted and disgusting. Don't ever freaking speak to me again. Frank, you can either respect my statement or we're done as well. Comment 2. While you think Daniel is the issue, in reality, you have a boyfriend problem. This is not one of those cases when the brother is making subtle passes at you. He is constantly pushing boundaries and disrespecting you, and your boyfriend just lets it happen. At this point, you need to tell your boyfriend you're going no contact with his brother, and if he doesn't support that, you need to leave. Unless, of course, you're okay with having a threesome with them. Now for the update. Hi Reddit, thanks for the comments on my last post. Things have escalated since then, and I'm still reeling from the shock of it all. After Frank and I had our talk about Daniel's behavior, Frank confronted him. It was supposed to be a heart-to-heart between brothers, but it turned into a nightmare. Daniel denied everything, saying he was just being playful and we were taking it all wrong. He even had the audacity to accuse me of trying to drive a wedge between them. Frank was torn, but he believed me over Daniel, which only made Daniel more furious. Then, out of nowhere, Daniel did something I never thought possible. He revealed that Frank had been secretly funneling money from their parents' retirement fund. He showed us bank statements, transfers, everything. My world shattered. The man I trusted, the one I thought was sensitive and respectful, had been lying to everyone, including me. I felt betrayed, but something didn't add up. Frank was devastated, not because he got caught, but because it wasn't true. We dug deeper, and the truth came out. Daniel had forged the documents. He'd been the one stealing from their parents, and when he felt cornered, he tried to pin it on Frank. The evidence was irrefutable. Frank's name was cleared, but the damage to their family was done. Their parents were heartbroken, and Daniel was disowned. The aftermath was messy. Frank's relationship with his parents was strained, even though he was innocent. They couldn't understand how such deceit had festered under their roof. I supported Frank through it all, but I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered. Just when we thought we could breathe again, another bomb dropped. Frank's mom was diagnosed with a serious illness. The family rallied around her, but the tension was clear. Daniel tried to come back, to be there for his mom, but the betrayal was too fresh. He wasn't welcome. In the midst of this family crisis, Frank proposed to me. It was bittersweet. I said yes because I love him, but our joy was overshadowed by the family's pain. We postponed announcing our engagement, not wanting to add to the turmoil. And then, as if things couldn't get any worse, Daniel's true colors showed once more. He tried to sue Frank for emotional distress and defamation. It was ludicrous. The case was thrown out, but it was the final straw for me. I couldn't be part of this toxic cycle any longer. I told Frank that I needed space, that the constant drama was too much for me. Frank understood and we took a break. It was the hardest decision I've ever made, but I needed to protect my own mental health. I spent time with friends, focused on work, and tried to find some semblance of normalcy. After a few weeks, Frank came to me. He'd been seeing a therapist, working through the betrayal and the chaos his brother had caused. He wanted to make things right, to build a life with me away from the drama. We decided to move forward, slowly, with our relationship. We're still together and things are looking up. Frank's mom is responding well to treatment, and the family's healing. Daniel is out of the picture, and while it's sad, it's for the best. Frank and I are planning our future one step at a time. Thanks for sticking with me through this chaotic ride. Cheers, OP. My bridesmaid tried to sabotage my wedding with last-minute drama, but I made her pay for an Airbnb and watch me shine on my big day. To start, all names are made up. My FH Marcus, 25, and I, 25, are tying the knot after 9 years together. I have 4 bridesmaids and 1 MOH. One bridesmaid, Jenna, 26, has been a bit difficult during wedding planning. I asked all my bridesmaids to get a red satin dress off one of those bridesmaid websites. They have to be long with straps because no nip slips here, and it's black tie. They can set their own budget and choose a dress they feel beautiful in. She had a problem with the fabric and hasn't even tried on dresses yet. And I've already had 2 bridesmaids settle on their dress and order them. Everyone else has narrowed down their options. I let it go because, hey, it takes a minute to get with the program. The bigger problems have recently arisen. She doesn't want to stay in the hotel the night before. I told her all of my bridesmaids this is a requirement early on. There was one exception to this. My cousin Elle, 39, is coming in from out of town with her parents, mid-70s, her dog, and her boyfriend. She was allowed to get an Airbnb due to the fact she helps her aging parents. Jenna told me she won't sleep well. She will feel dirty, and the showers always suck and are gross. She also stated she didn't want to pay for a hotel room, which, split 5 ways, would be $31 a person. We are staying at a Marriott hotel, not a Red Roof. I put this rule in place for a few reasons. 1, I have 3 bridesmaids who all run the risk of being late. 2, we need the hotel to get ready in, so we have to have it overnight. She then went on to make the comment that when she leaves my home, she feels gross because I have a dog. I vacuum every day, and my home is kept to a very clean standard, not eat off the floors clean because of my baby girl. But I would definitely hang out on the floor. Jenna then asked when we couldn't get ready at the salon. Well, then none of us are getting ready together, and where's the fun? She then said she really doesn't want to get her hair and makeup done, which was another requirement. She's not even paying for it, my future mother-in-law is. I'm just so lost as to what I should do with her. Edit. There are 2 rooms. I am asking them to split the second room so there will be more space. Their makeup is paid for by my mother-in-law. They have options on jewelry, hairstyles, and shoes. The fabric had to be chosen because different fabrics would be different shades. The total for the second room is $31. That's it. Edit 2. Everyone thinks that the issue is the cost of the hotel, when it is, in fact. She doesn't want to stay there overnight or get ready in the hotel. There are 2 rooms for us to crash and get ready in. It is the fact that she is turning her nose up at the fact my mother-in-law paid for everyone to have their hair and makeup professionally done. The problem is, she has been throwing insults about my home or my dog at me. She'd rather everyone get ready separately in their own home. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're being a bridezilla. I wouldn't want to share a hotel room with 5 people, and I need a good shower before an event. Not a crappy hotel shower with terrible water pressure and a shower head that doesn't detach. Let her do her hair and makeup herself. Let her stay where she wants. Give them a deadline to order the dresses in case alterations are needed. Comment 2. Wait, you want 5 people to split a room? A room that costs around $150? So you're forcing them to share beds, and unless you're having 3 in one bed, someone is on a couch or a rollaway? Not cool. Not cool at all. Does she normally wear a lot of makeup or do a lot to her hair? Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So Jenna's drama just went from bad to worse. After the whole hotel fiasco, I thought we'd reached a compromise. But no, Jenna had to go and stir the pot again. She decided to throw a last-minute bridal shower for me. Which sounds nice, right? Wrong. She planned it on the same day as my cousin Elle's birthday, knowing full well that Elle had a family gathering planned for months. It was like she was trying to force everyone to choose sides. I tried to talk to Jenna to reason with her, but she played the victim, saying she was just trying to do something nice for me. The whole thing blew up when Elle found out and confronted Jenna. They had a huge argument, and Jenna accused Elle of trying to steal the spotlight. It was a mess. Elle's parents were upset, her boyfriend was trying to calm everyone down, and I was stuck in the middle of it all. Then, as if that wasn't enough, Jenna dropped another bombshell. She confessed to me in tears that she was jealous of my relationship with Marcus. She said she'd been feeling left out ever since we got engaged, and that planning the bridal shower was her way of trying to be more involved. I didn't know what to say. I felt betrayed, but also sorry for her. It was a lot to take in. The next day, things took an even more unexpected turn. Jenna's boyfriend called me. He said Jenna had been cheating on him and that he'd found out the night of the bridal shower disaster. He was heartbroken and wanted my advice on what to do. I was in shock. Jenna, my bridesmaid, my friend, had been lying to all of us. Her boyfriend was devastated, and I felt so bad for him. I didn't know how to handle the situation. I was angry at Jenna for causing so much drama and for hurting her boyfriend, but I also knew I had to keep the peace for the sake of the wedding. So, I made a decision. I told Jenna that she could still be a part of the wedding, but only if she apologized to Elle and her boyfriend, and if she agreed to follow the plans already set for the wedding day. Jenna agreed, but the atmosphere was tense. Everyone was walking on eggshells around her. The wedding was just days away, and I was dreading any more surprises. But then, the night before the wedding, Jenna did something unexpected. She paid for Elle's Airbnb as an apology. It was a gesture that meant a lot to Elle and her family, and it helped ease some of the tension. The wedding day finally arrived, and despite everything, it went off without a hitch. Jenna kept to her word, and the day was beautiful. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd let things slide too easily with Jenna. I was relieved the wedding was over, but I couldn't help but feel like I'd accepted a terrible situation without fully realizing it. Thanks for reading through this whirlwind of events. My pregnant wife turns into a monster and ignores my struggles. So I expose her secret chats with her ex and watch as her perfect world crumbles. Hi all, so my wife is pregnant with our third child. We generally get along great for the most part and are happily married. However, my wife has incredibly hard pregnancies. Constantly throwing up, feeling malaise 24/7, etc. Let me say up front that pregnancy for her, and for women in general, is so hard. I can only imagine. My wife sort of turns into a different person when she is pregnant, and it's really hard on me. We do not have intimacy, which is fine, but it doesn't mean that it is easy for me to not love my wife in the most intimate way there is. She is snappy, rude, and inconsiderate. On top of that, it literally feels like she actively resents me. Because she gets sick and struggles with pregnancy, the load is pretty much all shifted on me. This is something I am aware of going into a pregnancy, and I welcome it. I handle bedtime every single night for 2 children. I provide dinner, clean up, do dishes, do laundry, get groceries, and work a full-time job as the breadwinner. She does work when she feels like it, has her own business. Again, to put it plainly, I generally do really well at manning up and taking the lion's share of what she is temporarily not able to do. But one day I told her that I hated pregnancies mainly because I hated seeing how much they suck for her, but also because they are hard on me. She was instantly upset, questioned what could possibly be hard about pregnancy for me, and discounted 100% of what I told her I struggle with. 1, dealing with a grouch who hates my guts. 2, reduced physical touch, which is my love language. 3, increased chores, house responsibilities, etc. 4, maybe a summation of all the above. But it feels like my best friend suddenly turned on me and left me out to dry. In short, It's hard for me because I feel like I lose my life partner for 9 months, and that really sucks. Like I said, she got upset, told me that I am not the one throwing up every day, which is very true. But it makes me sad that I can't even acknowledge the difficulties that pregnancy brings to others. Readers, please know I have no problem manning up and dealing with this in stride. But I am asking if anyone has advice as to how I can make this pregnancy journey slightly more tolerable for us both. I do not want to compete in the suffering Olympics. Pregnancy is glaringly and obviously harder for a woman. Just general advice, I guess. Edit. Lots of mean women in the comments. I appreciate the sincere feedback, especially the vent out theory. I've only mentioned this to my wife once, and I realize it is not the thing to say to the person at the center of the target, but it happened. I've seen several people have issues with a couple of things. First, that I am a religious Mormon person who has the common high libido partner versus low libido partner problem. I'm having a hard time being apologetic to all those who think that I'm a slob because I would love to have intimacy with my wife. Disregarding love languages, physical touch. Sorry, I mislabeled it. Is it horrendous to all of you out there that I reserve my intimacy life for my wife and my wife alone? Again, I understand that in pregnancy, she doesn't feel like it. That's fine. But it doesn't make it so I suddenly am not attracted to her or something. And the fact I am Mormon. Imagine if I was Muslim instead. All of you dickheads, would you have said the same thing? I guarantee not. The fact that I am religious has no bearing on this issue. We are normal people who both wanted more kids, although it took some time for her to convince me that now is the time to have a third child. And we knew pregnancy sucked before doing so. We want kids, and the struggle is worth it. But that doesn't mean I can't seek to make it more bearable. I don't expect her to be a handmaiden and cook and clean. We divide up our marital duties and are satisfied with the division of responsibility. Outside of pregnancy, I am still a great father and husband who does an equal and proportionate share of household chores and other responsibilities. My wife does the same. She works part-time because she wants to, but if she wanted to be the main breadwinner, I'd totally be down. I think all these nasty comments sort of prove my point. First, I acknowledge I talked to the wrong person about my struggles. My wife needs to lean on me during her struggles, and for every moment, except the one I highlighted where I told her how I felt, that's what I am there for. One comment down at the bottom got downvoted 70+ times for saying that pregnancy isn't a free pass to be a jerk. It seems like a lot of women gatekeep the suffering in pregnancy. It's obvious pregnant women have it the worst, by far. I don't think I am in the wrong for feeling how I feel, and I was just seeking advice on how to handle it. The vent out advice is perfect, and I suppose I subconsciously understood this advice by coming here to Reddit, anonymously, to seek help and support. Thank you all again for outlining that for me. Last thing, it is pretty reprehensible that many of you are staunchly defending one group of people, pregnant women, while simultaneously dismissing my humanness merely because I belong to a different group. Again, thank you to all who read my posts with a logical mind and offered advice. I admit I am not perfect and am actively seeking to be a better person. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. In grief, there's this thing called venting out. If you picture a set of concentric circles shaped like a target, the person in the middle of the target is the person the thing is happening to. The next concentric circle is family members. Then outside of that, friends, coworkers, religious figures, etc. Everybody in the circle needs support with the difficult thing. But when you're struggling, it's important to vent outwards, not inwards. For example, a friend should not complain to a cancer patient how hard it is to know someone who has cancer, or that person's spouse/child/parent. But that friend can complain to a therapist, religious figure, support group, or a friend who is further from the situation. This seems like one of those issues. Your wife is having a very hard time. It is unavoidable and temporary. You are allowed to feel like it is difficult, but you need to vent outward to friends, therapists, etc., not inward, to the person who is having a more difficult time than you with the same situation. Comment 2. You took it to the wrong person. I know people love to say your spouse should be your best friend, but this is one good reason why that's too many jobs for one person. Your wife is not open to hearing how her struggle is hard on you. She is in the center of the circle of needs. You are one ring out, still in need of and deserving of support from the outer rings of your system. If you don't have a close friend or sibling, or a close relationship with your dad, get yourself a counselor for a couple of sessions. You deserve to be heard and supported. Your wife categorically cannot be that support for you right now. Build a system outside of just the two of you. You each, and most people do, need to foster non-romantic, nurturing relationships. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for the update. Things took a turn this week that I didn't see coming. My wife's sister, who's always been the rock in our family, decided to move across the country. Out of nowhere, she got this job offer she couldn't refuse. Everyone's in shock. She's the one who'd step in when things got too much for me, the one who'd take the kids when we needed a break. Now she's gone, and it's like there's this big hole in our support system that we can't fill. With her gone, my wife's been even more on edge. She's not just sick now. She's anxious all the time, worried about how we'll manage. And I'm trying to be there for her, but it's like walking on a tightrope without a net. The other day, I found out she's been hiding how bad the morning sickness really is. She's been getting dehydrated, and the doctor said she might need to be hospitalized if it doesn't improve. That scared me more than I want to admit. Then, as if we needed more on our plate, my job's been piling on the pressure. They're talking about layoffs, and I can feel my position teetering on the edge. I've been staying late, trying to prove my worth, but it means I'm not home as much. The kids are feeling it too. They miss their aunt, they miss me, and they don't understand why mommy's always sick. Amid all this, my wife's business took a hit. One of her major clients pulled out, and it's thrown our finances into a tailspin. We had a huge fight about money, something we've always been good at handling together. She accused me of not being supportive, and I shot back that I'm doing everything I can. It got ugly, and I hate that. The next day, she apologized, but there was something off. She's been distant, and I caught her crying when she thought I was asleep. I want to help her, but every time I try, it seems to make things worse. And then, the news. I found out she's been talking to her ex. Not in a romantic way, but he's been giving her advice on her business. I felt so betrayed. Here I am, busting my back for our family, and she's turning to someone else for support? I confronted her, and it turned into another fight. She said she felt alone, and that I wouldn't understand the business side of things. That stung. I thought we were a team. The kids have been acting out, and I know it's because everything's so unstable right now. I've been trying to keep it together for them, but it's hard when I feel like I'm doing it alone. My wife's sister was a big part of their lives, and with her gone, they're struggling to adjust. I've been leaning on a buddy of mine for support. He's been through some tough times with his wife's health, and he gets it. But even he's been acting strange lately. I found out his wife's been spreading rumors about my wife and her ex. It's like a soap opera, and I'm sick of it. I'm trying to focus on the good. My wife's still here. We're still a family, and we'll get through this. But it's hard not to feel like everything's falling apart around me. I'm holding on, but I'm not sure how much longer I can keep it up. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.